Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in. Today, we're going to be looking at Bitcoin, its valuations against the US dollar, witnessing the bounce that we are currently seeing. Remember, if you do like this video and the other videos that I make on this channel, be sure to hit the like button down below and also consider subscribing. I call it a bounce because I call it a bounce because it's something positive at least. In all reality, Bitcoin hasn't really bounced that much. I mean, from the wick, we have witnessed maybe an 18% move up. So from the lows of $33,000 to $38,000. That last week we saw a move from the candle within the candle body of about 4.5%. This week we're seeing 2%. We didn't come back down to the summer lows back in July and June, where we saw a move to about $28,000. We have yet to see that, and we don't know yet if we are ever going to see that. I think it's important to take a look at the moving averages here. The 100-week moving average is currently at $31,973. So we just went above that. If we're really splitting hairs here, we're looking the wick got to about maybe 4% away, 4 or 5% away. I wouldn't necessarily call it a bounce off the moving average, but nonetheless, it's something to keep in mind. In fact, one thing I did want to take a look at because I didn't was to take a look at the EMA, which is a little bit more reactive. And as you can see, we actually bounced off the 100-week EMA, which is something that is important to note, right? The EMA and the MA are very two common moving averages that people use throughout the cycle, right? When they're trading their positions. When we compare the two, we can. They're quite similar. I'm gonna take the moving average here, so not the EMA, and make it a nice lime green. And we're also gonna plot it to 100. So as you can see, there are moments in time where they do become a little different. They spread out. I mean, a good example is the like in May of 2021, we saw the 100-week moving average be a little bit more slower in catching up compared to the EMA, which is a little bit more reactive. Regardless, we do see moves where they do hold support fairly well, like what we saw here back in November. Back here in 2018, we did see the EMA hold as support. So you can argue that the 100-week EMA is a moving average that we should be looking at, and it's doubly so because we're seeing Bitcoin kind of close above it. We bounced off of it essentially. So getting rid of those for now, let's take a look at the monthly. How did we do for the month of January? For the month of January, we dropped 16%. Not as bad as last month, which actually is quite surprising. Earlier in the weeks prior to today, January was going to be a worse month than December, but it wasn't. We're off by about 1% and some change. With that said, let's take a look at the EMA ribbon, and lo and behold, we closed above this EMA ribbon. Again, the EMA ribbon is the exponential moving average, so much like the moving average that we were just looking at, the 100-week EMA. And I think this EMA ribbon kind of uses the 100, if I'm not mistaken. No, it doesn't. It goes up to 55, and then it uses the yellow 200 EMA. So never mind. Regardless, we are currently holding this level here. Currently holding this level and hopefully bouncing. Obviously, this month we're only up 0.45. The month has already started, and now we have another 27, 28 days left to make another monthly close. One of the theories that we have is we kind of see, back here in 2019, this area here, when we look at what Bitcoin has done when it got back to the EMA ribbon, is that we saw bounces, right? We saw a bounce of 30% when we got to it. We saw a 34% move up in a month. So one possible theory is that we could see a decent February, right? And that would be nice. But I think what's important to know is that we would need some kind of decisive move. Like, I think like not only February needs to do good, but the following month needs to do good. We need to see some kind of reversal, essentially. A good example of that is this. Although we didn't, break to like new highs, we technically did, but I don't think a lot of people will, you know, believe or remember it that way. They would remember it as a double top. But this is kind of a move that I'm talking about here, where we see these consistent green monthly candles to the upside. Uh, I think there's a lot more going for Bitcoin now than it was back in the summer. Although we dipped to a lower price, relatively speaking, we are at a lower RSI level right now. And where we are right now, um, sorry, let me just get the line tool and kind of line it up where we are. Where we are in terms of the RSI is quite low, relatively speaking, to the monthly RSI on Bitcoin. There are very few instances where we have gone below where we are now on the RSI, which is 53.63. The March capitulation is one, but barely. That closed at 48.34. The bottom of the bear market of 2018, 2019, where we saw an RSI low of 43, and the bottom of the bear market back in 2015, essentially, where we're again in the mid 40s. So the mid 40s are kind of an indicator of the bottom of the bear market. And if we do go to that level, then it becomes a very, very interesting buying opportunity for Bitcoin, where we can anticipate some kind of reversal in the relatively near future, right? And this could last for months, which is not what anyone would really like to see. But in the grand scheme of things, if you're able to, say you bought, let's take the 2018 bear market, for example. If you bought in December, you bought around $3,700 in 3, 4, 5, in 6 months, you would have doubled your return. So I think in a 6 months time is pretty good and relatively quick, right? We're not talking days, we're talking months, but 6 months in a year to double it is a pretty good move, in my opinion. Anyway, this is kind of what we're seeing for February, where we could see some kind of bounce, or we could see a decisive move, a decisive cancel to the downside, like what we see back in November, where we held the EMA ribbon for months and then we broke below. I think it's going to be a little quicker than that, if I were to be honest, uh, or it's going to be uh, more so we're going to get a decision soon, and whatever decision that is, we'll hold that for a little longer. That's kind of my outlook on it. Obviously, it doesn't have to play that way, but food for thought. Regardless, right now what we see here with Bitcoin kind of bouncing for the past a few days, we're seeing altcoins kind of rally a little bit. Let me get rid of this EMA ribbon. You see that Ethereum's up for almost 5% for the week now. Chainlink had a pretty good move. I mean, the candle body is small, but it is a hammer candle nonetheless. We wicked down to 4,000, 40,000 satoshis, and then we rallied back up. Aave, same thing. We're seeing some kind of bounce. We're up 8.85% for the week. It's looking pretty good. Solana's another one, up 12% for the week. So we're seeing some kind of bounce from altcoins, some kind of reassurance. But I would remind you that we're still lower than the levels that we were a few months ago in terms of their Bitcoin valuations. And it probably will continue that way until Bitcoin gets back to the levels above its 20-week moving average, right? We are talking about Bitcoin essentially bouncing off the 100-week and saying that's good. But for any kind of real bullishness for altcoins, I would argue that we would have to wait until the 20-week moving average. With that said, I'm buying Bitcoin now. It is the asset that I'm currently buying. Not altcoins, not for the moment. It's just increasing my Bitcoin position, especially with Bitcoin being this low on the RSI and comparing it to the entire history of Bitcoin's RSI. This is a pretty good area to buy on longer term time frames like the weekly and the monthly. I will continue to do so until Bitcoin gets back above the 20-week moving average, essentially, or a little less than that. I mean, the 20-week moving average is currently at. I haven't even been looking at the 20-week moving average very long, but it's currently at $50,000. So I think anything below 40 is pretty good. I think anything within the EMA monthly EMA ribbon is amazing. And anything at the bottom of the EMA ribbon is a very, very good buy. So with that said, you can kind of divide those into three parts. And I will be accumulating relative to those sections there. If it's at the bottom of the ribbon, then I'll be buying way more Bitcoin than I would be buying right now, and more so if it was closer to the 20-week moving average. Anyway, that's all for today, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye bye.